Alright YouTube, we're back. This is part 3 of the Sunbird motor upgrade to this Volantix B4023 850 kV motor, which incidentally came off of my late ASW28, and this is the motor we took off of it, which would have been fine except that we found that there were some leads that were damaged. So we're going to get the soldering iron plugged back in, get that tip hot, and our next step is we were trying to replace this 30 amp ESC with a bigger one, and so we decided on this 40 amp with a large BEC, which is incidentally good for a stabilizer, which we have a stabilizer in this. By the way, that's a Lemon RX 7-channel with stabilization, and really like that setup. One of my favorite receivers. Use it all the time, and it's been very good. So now, as you can see, these ends work, but I don't know that I actually want to have this ugly chunk of cable in the middle, because it looks like I should be able to reach. Yeah, and I should. Okay, and then also there's this silicone wire, and then there's this extension cord that my friend had wired on there. I bought this from a friend as part of a package deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out how to take out those extensions, which he flies quads. So, oh, by the way, if you guys saw in one of my earlier videos, I was fixing this ASW canopy, and for my buddy, because he does have a functional ASW28, and that's how it turned out with those repairs. Real easy. And then the discoloration and stuff, if you really care, where the CA almost like stains the plastic. I was thinking about painting this thing silver, which would look kind of cool. But then if he ever does FPV, then that limits his choices, so I'm not going to probably do that. I'll let him do that himself. So really my next step in this project is we're going to desolder and resolder some connectors. And, you know, some of these little tasks, guys, they're not especially exciting to watch, but they're also the steps that people don't know how to do. And so I found that, you know, people need some help with them. If you don't need help with them, this video is probably not for you. I don't mean any disrespect, but if you know how to solder on an XT60, then this video is not really designed for you. And a lot of us in the RC world know how to put on an XT60. Okay, so you see that? Went through without scoring deep enough to actually cut the wire, which is what we wanted, and then we preserve the length. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this down, throw that away. XT60, that can be used for another project. Grab our bag of goodies here, put this out of the way. XT60s, male and female. In this case we want the female, even though technically it's a male because it's got pins in it, even though the plastic housing is the female. Okay? Alright, female, same thing, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to end up soldering this end to there and that end to there. Whoops, wrong way. That way. We're going to do it that way. And it's labeled. It's got a negative sign. It's got a positive sign. Very simple stuff. Okay? So first things first, let's strip off the silicone. Strip off the silicone. Okay. Second thing, make sure it fits in the hole, which it definitely does. Actually need a little bit more stripped off here. And a little bit more stripped off here. Okay. Third step, very simple step. Get yourself some heat shrink, preferably some red and black if you got it. I'm almost out of this bag. Part numbers, if you haven't already seen it 57 times in my videos, there's black from Hobbyking.com and red from Hobbyking.com. And you don't have to use red and black. You can use black and black, red and red. It doesn't really matter, but it's appreciated by the next guy that's got to work with this. Because it will be a little confusing if he's got red and red, but black and black would be perfectly fine. Okay, so first things first, black goes over the wire, red goes over the wire. Second thing second, clean your tip, stick it in the hole, clean your tip again, get your solder. First things first, third things third, sorry. Tin it. You see how I'm tinning it, guys? I'm just working the solder. Normally you would let it flow from the front to the back, but this is a lot easier. So what you're going to do is you're going to bridge the gap. Once you make a puddle, the puddle transmits the heat from the tip of the soldering iron into the work. And then you're going to walk the solder into the joint. Okay. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to say, well, you know what would be nice is if I had another connector that maybe I could stick into here and it would keep it cool while I'm working. Hey, that's a great idea. Why don't you do that, Brian? Okay, I don't mind if I do. Alright, plugged in. So now that gives us something to hold on to. Positive is on this side. First thing we're going to do, again we have the other steps done, we're going to take and hold this with our hand. We're going to hold it with our hand. We're going to get hot the work. We're going to preferably get a bridge of solder. The bridge of solder is going to allow the solder and flux to flow into the hole. Okay? Okay, very good. Don't touch the other side. It's really hot too. Okay? Then we're going to flip it over. We're going to do the same thing. Solder is just like everything else. Gravity works on it. If you try to solder uphill, it's going to want to flow towards you. Just like welding upside down, it's tricky. You got molten steel, it's going to want to flow downhill most of the time. Let's use magnets. Okay, very good. The socket's mostly full, it looks like, but it's not actually. It's just full to the brim because it bridged. No big deal. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab something that I can hang on to that with, like forceps. Forceps are these thingies. I'm going to grab the opposite side. Since this isn't a battery, we can hang on to both sides, but we're not going to do that necessarily. We're going to grab one on the positive lead. We're going to click it. It's going to keep and maintain that joint. We're going to hold it down here. I took a knee on the floor so it's easier to brace my body. I'm heating this a little bit to get that knob off of there. Now I'm going to heat the workpiece, and then I'm going to heat them together, and I'm going to heat them together. I'm going to heat them and I'm going to walk it in. Next thing you know, we got an awesome solder joint. We're going to let it cool for just a second or two. It's getting very, 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 very hot on my fingers, and that's okay. No pain, no gain, right? Unless you're stretching, and then if you're stretching and it hurts, pain is bad. That's what the doctors tell you, at least. Okay, clean the tip. There you go. Okay, here we go. Heat this a little bit, get it warm. Heat this little, get it warm. Touch them together, heat them both at the same time. Solder joint, solder joint. Ooh, the heat stopped penetrating because I didn't have enough of a puddle to transmit the heat to the work. Sorry guys, bumped the camera there. Okay, so that went all the way in. That's actually a better solder joint. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side just like so. The other side's cooling as we speak. Heating it up. Heating it up. Waiting for it to work. Penetration is better this time. Okay, there it goes. Okay, a little deeper penetration that time, a little better joint. Keeping in mind, why does the deeper penetration mean a better joint on this? Because there's a larger point of contact on the inside of these connectors. Because as you can see, there's an oval area cut out right here. Okay? Down inside of here, there's no oval cut out. Okay? Alright, secondly, there's a little splatter here, and then there's some flux down here. Don't really care that much about the flux. I suppose if a guy was really worried, you could take some alcohol and wipe that off. I don't care that much. Second. Gosh, we're on like the 15th step. I'm still counting by twos. Slide this over the end. It's already hot. It's going to try to shrink down a little bit. That's fine. This side has a nasty sharp point on the top. I don't know if you guys can make that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold this thing. Well, it's hot on the tip. Hot on the tip, guys. I'm going to hold this thing, and I'm going to heat this up. Take that nasty high point down. Okay. Let it cool for just a second before we let go. Now you'll notice that when I had that hot, it allowed this to bend. If that happens, here's the trick, guys. Okay, so first of all, she's still biting, but you can take and bite something further back, and then you can apply pressure to the tip, and you can bend that tip tight. Or just buy a better pair of forceps. One or the other, or both. Okay, so now we've got that seated all the way. Grab a heater. Of course, you can use a heat gun if you don't have access to a lighter. Okay, very good. Those are done. They're shrunk down nicely. Now, this ugly thing has to be redone too. Not as excited about this. It's going to be a bit more of a pain, but it's going to get done, and it's going to get done right, and it's going to get done right now. So that's the next step. Unplug. Well, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to label these yellow, black, red. Okay? The reason we're doing that is for a very simple reason. Because I'm going to use a different color heat shrink for each of these wires so that they meet up and we don't have to figure out the direction of travel. Okay? So whatever one I disconnected, yellow, is going to be the first one I work. I'm going to take and cut the part that I don't care about, just like so. And then I'm going to open that piece up, just like so. And then I'm going to take and follow that cut all the way back, okay? I'm going to throw this in the garbage. That's heat shrink, guys. Okay, so now you can see that this is soldered, actually. It's got a decent contact point and everything. I'm going to do a trick here to show you how to save length. Okay? I'm heating my tip and cleaning it simultaneously. Secondly, I'm going to take some solder. I'm going to get solder on the tip, and I'm going to work that into the joint. Okay? You want to do this before you cut off your excess. Why would you do that, Brian? So you can take it off. Okay? You're using that to hold the wire. Be careful it doesn't splatter you in the face hole or the mice. If it goes in your eyes, you're probably not going to see it ever again. So be careful. Okay? Then, this little solder, we don't care about it. It's not a big deal. Now, the other thing is, you see that it's not straight, guys. That's going to make it a little tricky to work with. So I'm going to take and hold this down with my soldering iron. I'm going to pull it straight. Hold it down on the table, the wooden table. If this is your wife's dining room table, ha ha ha! I had a splatter go on my finger. Sorry, guys. If this is your wife's dining room table, this is also a very good way to be divorced. So don't do that. Unless, of course, that's what you're after. Okay. Hot! Okay, squishing it. Yeah, you don't have to squish this stuff. I'm squishing it because it's easier to deal with in that shape. Okay, so now we have yellow. So let's see if we got heat shrink that's in the yellow color. Oh my goodness, we do. That's awesome. That looks about the right size there. Hey, look, a Hobbyking part number. Would you imagine that? If you guys want to order that, go for it. If you didn't get the part number, don't ask in the comments below. Just pause the video and take it off the video. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation. I appreciate it. Because I only have like 730 videos to deal with right at the moment. And soon to be more. Okay, slipping this on. Notice it's long. Why is it so long, Brian? Well, it's long because you got to cover up the whole connector when you get this done. And that's the objective. So we're going to do that. Slide it back as far as you can. Even if it goes into the other heat shrink, that's fine. I don't care as long as it's not getting hot. If it gets hot prematurely, you know what happens, guys. Remember, this wire we don't care about, so I'm just cutting on the wire. Now I'm peeling the tip off. Bummer. I had hoped to not do that because the score can go into the tip and degrade the performance of the tip, but I kind of doubt it's going to do that on this. This is a pretty robust tip. Okay, so got that back. Peel that back. Okay, look. Oh, look at that beautiful little joint. Doesn't look horrible. Doesn't look great. Doesn't look anything too fantastic. But we know it's the right size, and that's really the critical detail here. So, second thing, heat it up, clean it up, put some heat to it here, let it fall off. Okay, very good. We already have the heat shrink on there, so we can let that cool for a minute while we work the others. Okay, second step. Like I was saying earlier, second step, right? Slide that in. Lay it down in a spot where you can handle. Look at the approximate depth, cut accordingly. The wire. And then you're ready to heat it up. Heat it up. Heat it up. Heat this up too. Need to get a little fresh solder in there. Okay. While this is exposed, I'm going to put some fresh solder in here too, and then displace the old stuff in case there's an air pocket in there. It's going to displace the solder when I do this. Please drip. Please drip. You little son of a gun, drip. Okay. Just holding it in the position I want it. Let it cool. Let it cool. Let's look at the other side and make sure there's no sharp point. There's no sharp point. Okay, now. Still pretty hot. Still pretty toasty. Still pretty toasty, guys. Scraping off the flux. Cutting off that little chunk. Okay, very good. Now, if a guy were motivated, he could take and plug this in, helping him to establish exactly where he wants that to go. This is too thick right here for the heat shrink, because the heat shrink must have shrunk down a little bit. Okay? See how it's shrunk down a little bit? Here's a trick. Grab yourself some Windex. Windex has a little bit of silicone in it, okay? Spray it. It will make it slick, guys. If that don't work, then you'll have to fix the problem of having that extra blob of solder there. But personally, I kind of like that extra blob. It keeps the heat shrink from slipping back. Okay? You see how I pushed it to where it's kissing up and it's making a little buckle in it. That's important. You want the little buckle. Why do you want a buckle, Brian? It's ugly. Blah, I don't like it. Start on this end. Work your way back. Where's the buckle, Brian? Oh, what'd you do? You fixed it. Thank you. No, I didn't. The heat fixed it. It shrunk. Okay. Good job, me. Now that's done. Now you can cool it off. You see that? How the bubbles all go to it? That's kind of cool. Okay. Rubbing it to cool it. Oh, yes. That's a nice fit right there. Now, we're going to take the heat shrink. We're going to heat it and get rid of the little bit of lip. Okay. Let it cool for a second. Whammo, whammo. Ready to rock and roll. That thing is good stuff right there. I do not like that this little silicone pops out of there. But I don't think I dislike it enough to spend the time to fix it properly, which would be probably like CA it or something, except CA won't stick to that stuff. Okay. Next step. Looks like the next one happens to be black. Okay, so we'll detach the black one. We're going to come back here. We're going to cut on the area that we know we don't need, which is the solder joint area. Okay, we're going to cut up and away so we don't slice into our hand. And then we're going to take and peel it. Peel it like an apple. Who peels apples? Nobody peels apples. Oh wait, kids do, I guess. Okay, there you go. Peeled. Now, I'm going to do this way different. I'm going to cut it here. You say, but it didn't separate. What do you do now? Oh no, it's the end of the world. No, it's fine. We're just going to heat it and do it the same way. I was just going to see if we got lucky enough to where that would release, and it didn't, which I didn't really expect it would. Okay, so we're going to heat it up. Heat it up. Heat it up, heat it up, heat it up. And then heat it up a little more. Oh, there, it's flowing nicely. Look at that. It's flowing like crazy. Everywhere. It's getting everywhere. Jeez, stop it. Now I just need to very carefully do this. Okay, I was talking about not being able to see forever, and it got me thinking maybe I should put these onto the camera. Just kidding. That joke never gets old, does it? Okay, peeling it out, guys. Oh, yes! Now we're going to take them, we're going to pull those leads. We're going to pull them so they're straight. Ooh, where's all the smoke coming from? I'll tell you where the smoke's coming from. It's coming from the burning wood. Okay, very good. Now, notice something. We're in a shop, and if I were to not like the way that the air quality was, I could just come over here and turn my little timer. And then there's a ceiling fan that will, exhaust vent that will suck air out. Yay! Brian, that solution sucks. Yes, it does. Thank you for noticing. Alright guys, squish it. Squish it. Squish it harder. Okay, good. It's squished. Now, the next thing, we're going to cut this off. This one's the black one, so we don't need to really put a heat shrink on because this one's still labeled as red. Process of elimination and so on and so forth. Okay, don't care about this cable. Okay, now we're going to just grab that. Ah, that son of a gun did the same thing it did on the last one. 2 small, very light cuts. Should be sufficient to help tell it what we want to happen with it, which is come off of there. Okay, that didn't work. So now we're going to take this blade and we're just going to walk it until it splits, which it did. Then we're going to throw that away. Lay this down. Clean the tip. Heat it up, heat it up, heat it up. Why are you putting solder on it if you're trying to desolder it? Well, the reason you put solder on it is because that will help to encourage it to fall off. But you're desoldering it, Brian. Yeah, because you're making more contact area with the heat element. Okay, heating, 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 heating. You see the puddle, guys? The puddle is what you need. The puddle is what you desire. Okay? And why do we want a puddle? So that we transmit more heat efficiently, quickly. Okay? Now, we're going to take this. We're going to stick our forceps in it. Right like that. We're just going to look it over real quick. It looks a little dirty. And we're going to come in here and we're going to get a little solder in there. A little bit of solder, just like so. A little bit of solder, and then we're going to just run this around like so. And we're going to splatter it everywhere. That worked pretty good actually that time. Doesn't always go that well. Usually it splatters on my leg or something. Okay, very good. So now that's ready to receive the refinished wire. And you'll notice something interesting about this. If you do your job right, you should be able to put the heat shrink over the top of it after you've actually installed it. But who knows? I don't want to risk it. So I'm going to get some ready first ahead of time. Now I just got to find and see if I've got some that'll fit. This is 5mm red and 5mm. So it's used for XT60 leads, evidently. Hypothetically. Looks like it's a little bigger than what we used before. But whatever. We'll try it. And if it works poorly, then we'll redo it. So clearly, this will fit over the top. So we don't need to put it on and don't have to compromise our efforts to get this thing taken care of. Okay, we're 25 minutes into the video. Good lordy. These things are supposed to be easy. And it's not really super hard. It's just more a matter of how much time it takes to do all these little steps. Just pushing, pushing, pushing. Gosh, it's still hot. Okay, now it's finally set up. Okay. Very good. Now I can let go of that. I can bring it over to the puddle and cool it down just a little bit. That's always fun. Heat shrink. Still warm. Not crazy warm. It's warm enough to heat the heat shrink though, so you want to go really quick if you're not trying to shrink it right away. Then I'm going to do just like I did last time. I'll plug it into the motor because I've got it at my discretion. I'm going to line it. Ooh, look at this crappy cut I did. I'm going to make that square. Square is better. You'll get a better protection against short circuits. Plugging it in. Remember, just ever so slightly overlapping. And I mean, maybe half of a millimeter. I got a little bit too much there. See, the fear is you get too much, what'll happen is it'll actually roll over onto the inside of the joint, and then it causes problems with making good contact, like what's happening there. So you can take and just trim it. It's a lot better if you get it right the first time, but whatever. I'm human. Heat it up. Use that shrink compression to try to fix your screw up if you did screw it up like I did. Okay, good enough. Alright, now, moving along. So we've done red, we've done black, we've kept the orientation the same, which is kind of handy, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel to figure out what's going on. And we've done it in just almost a half an hour. Jeez! Why did it take a half an hour? What were you doing? Well, I was filming. This was supposed to be like part number 3 of 3, guys. So, as usual, it's going to be like part number 3 of 7, or whatever I get to at the end. So, my apologies in advance. They still have a little bit of work mechanically to get the motor installed. And I don't think it's going to be too especially hard to do. Okay, now, suppose you cut that off prematurely, and you still need to get this chunk out. Well, do like I did there. Clamp the forceps on. Then, clean your tip. And just like you did every other time, you're going to take your solder, present some, get a nice solder joint going there, present the solder into the joint. Make sure you got a good contact area. Hold down the forceps and pull it away. Desoldering is something that I was scared to death to do when I was a kid. I don't know why. I knew how to solder. I just wasn't real good at it. When you solder a lot, it becomes quite second nature. Okay. Put that in there to start a small fire. Just kidding, guys. It won't start a fire, I think. Alright, so you guys get the idea. We're going to finish this connector up, and then this thing is ready to rock and roll, man. It's going to be ready to stick into the bird. So at this point, I'm going to bid you well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. On the next video for the Sunbird, we'll be getting the motor mounted, and hopefully we'll be done at that point. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.